It's March the 2nd, 2020. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. We got lots of crazy news to get to. It always takes me a couple of moments to get up and running. I have to do everything myself. I hope it's not too big of an issue for anybody. We'll turn that down in the meantime and let's get kicking. And so there's a lot of speculation going on out there. First off, I'll bring it on full screen. You see this? And I see in doubles. So when I set up my live stream, then I get a ghost account set up. That's actually censorship. You're not supposed to get that, right? And they have 6 gag orders against me here in Canada for the nuclear industry, because I'm a nuclear expert. And because of Fukushima, they don't want the population to know certain things. And so they dragged me to court 15 times and gave me gag orders, 6 of them. And this is so they can monitor me online. And that's evidence of it there, by the way, what you're looking at. The movie Signal, 2007, it was about cell phones and TV, radio would send out a transmission and turn everybody into a zombie, right? And they were bloodthirsty zombies. And so there's speculation out there right now that the 5G cell network is causing Wuhan. I just wanted to address that because you can be sure I'm looking at everything. And the reason why I'm not talking about 5G is because if you look at it realistically, they didn't have to create the chips and the manufacturing facilities and everything else. All they had to do was put the antennas up there and start broadcasting, right? Why go through the trouble of creating a legitimate product that the minute you turned it on, everybody got sick? So that's one way to look at it. So 5G, I wasn't able to find evidence. All I found was a couple of useful idiots' videos, and they have an opinion. And so you can make this opinion up for everything else, to microwave, satellites, you name it. You can make that, you can draw the same conclusion if you want to go that direction. I don't. I cover all kinds of academic studies and everything because that's the only thing I can prove, right? For instance, a sneeze doesn't travel 6 feet like the World Health Organization says. It travels 200 feet. You know what I mean? So it is airborne. Not only that, it's airborne through excrement, right? And that there's 760 million people locked down. So if the 5G in Wuhan, where there's supposed to be 11 million, but there's probably only 6 million, then all 6 million of them would have started. The majority of them would have showed signs at the same time. Now, they built 16 hospitals there for critical injured or critical. We're going to cover that story coming up. There's a lot of deception going on in the world. And you got to watch it if you get dragged into it and you start pumping that stuff all over my site. I spent 10 years to build a site to be an honest site, to be somewhere you can go where you're actually going to get somebody who cares, right? I'm not going to give you conjectures, but I'll let you know it's absolutely 100% an opinion, right? I'm just saying anybody that knows me knows that I'm all about only providing the documentation that I can verify and that is important for the equations that we're talking about, which is usually nuclear. And so it's such a complicated subject. I put this whole operation together as a teaching tool, and I can't teach people if I don't provide the documentation. I can't provide anything for 5G being the pandemic or the epidemic at all. All I can find was opinions and conjectures, because when you looked at it realistically, why go through the trouble of disguising it when it's just an antenna? Nobody's going to notice an antenna being installed, right? Why not install it everywhere and switch it on? Coronavirus can survive on surfaces for 9 days, not 3 hours, like the World Health Organization, everybody's repeating. And these are studies, right? So 1 in 19 people, that's moved up to 1 in 30 now. But 1 in 19 people was another study that is being, you're able to identify them. And so the thermometers that you're pointing is only effective for about 2% of the infected, highly infected, late, when they're about to become really sick, right? And this last one before we start into the show, these are, I like showing these because everybody's always asking for these questions. Incubation periods, at least 24 days, even 28 days. And so you can be shedding the virus long before you manifest any signs of it. That's a politician. He's not trying to look weird. He looks like that naturally. And so if you're infected, a mask can help slow down the spread of infection. So it's a good something, right? And so people that are adamant that 5G is behind all of this, so like, and you got to realize the 5G, who's going to hate 5G first? Well, the people that had invested all their capital in the 3G and 4G. And the manufacturers who don't have the ability to manufacture 5G would have a lot at stake in creating a descending version of it, right? And so if they're going to do something nefarious, then look, 9 trillion off the stock markets. They're the same people that were thinking done it, have bankrupted themselves, don't make any sense. There's so many things that don't make sense, then it's best wait until something comes along that does make sense. Coronavirus rocks the foundation of the stock markets. And so $9 trillion in the last few weeks, almost $6 trillion last week. That's real money. $6 trillion, that's real money. And they're the people who are supposed to benefit from enslaving the population. It's hard to imagine they're going to bankrupt themselves. 15 billion airline route. And so this is one of the few headlines. It's Monday. And last week, the stock markets were the worst since 1929. Therefore, why are we only getting one headline today? Because they're desperate to get you to go away. Speaking of desperate, the World Health Organization, which is a bunch of thugs by the looks of things, they're just consultants, right? They don't make vaccines. Got on TikTok, which is for teenagers, to teach teens about coronavirus. Got on TikTok. World Health Organization is on TikTok. Instead of out trying to come up with solutions, they're on TikTok trying to influence children. Combat rapid disinformation. You can't combat it. And that's not your job. Why, get a little branch and deal with it. The World Health Organization is not supposed to be put on a pedestal. That's all they're doing right now is out there trying to stop people talking about it. By Monday, the account has garnered nearly 162,000 followers, 1.2 million likes. I got 23 likes. And I got 24,000 subscribers. Last year, I never gained a single one. They get 162,000 in a day, and they're just full of shit. It's just surreal. It's surreal. It's heartbreaking. I work so hard all day, every day, and I just get a few thousand views if I'm lucky. And I am lucky. I appreciate it. But all these idiots out there getting millions of views, and they're outrageous dummies. To me, it's just so heartbreaking. I've struggled for so many years to build this operation to be a place where people can rely upon really good documentation, to have a strong narrative to work with. And the trolls and everybody else will show up all these years. They've been doing it to me. just decimating everything I'm trying to do. And I don't have no budget, right? I have to do everything myself. And if people donate, I have to gather up a bit of money to accomplish anything. Just what it is. That's just, but I'm an honest person, so that's the way it rolls, right? Indian casino closes after an employee gets coronavirus. These are over and over different stories where businesses and schools and institutions, corporations, communities will close down because they think somebody might be sick with this. At this, we go through the news every day, and none of this makes sense unless you consider coronavirus a weaponized virus. And this is why you're seeing the nonsense about 5G and other stuff as a distraction, because it's a weaponized virus. So they keep everybody divided, right? What I'm trying to do is bring you documentation so you have a good foundation, because I think everybody is capable of thinking things out if they try. But if they're just going to grab random shit off the internet and run with it on my site, they're destroying me. Leaders of American Indian Reservation in Oregon shut down its casino and other facilities. Now, casinos are about 98% profit after an employee contracted coronavirus. They don't shut it down lightly. You're talking about absurd amounts of money for nothing. Your original investment is paid for the first week, right? Employees of the White Horse Resort and Casino and the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. He had attended a youth-based basketball game at a gymnasium at the middle school in Weston, Oregon on Saturday. And so they closed the gym and clean it. They closed the casinos and other businesses. They closed the gym and the school gym and blah, 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 because one person might have sneezed there. This is Twilight. You couldn't make this up if you wanted to. Hollywood never dreamt this one up, see? You know what I'm saying? This is just so far-fetched. It's so far-fetched, it's hard to wrap your mind around unless you're like me, where you're just constantly aggregating the information and analyzing it. And then if I make a mistake, it's chopped up and used to bludgeon me with forever, see? So I'm very careful about the things I talk about. And there's a lot of subjects I want to cover, but I don't have the documentation, so I can't. And it's only right that I don't if I can't provide you the documentation at the same time, right? I know that's a revolutionary idea, to give you the information as you're talking that I'm talking about, so you can make up your own minds too. That makes me obviously the bad guy, apparently. So the chip maker, the GPU conference is canceled. They got no cases anywhere near it. Aussie supermarkets wiped clean because they're afraid of and we've covered so many headlines of different countries doing this in the last number of shows, right? Of confirmed cases reported globally, the case fatality rate is 3.4%. Well, China is not being honest, and we'll get that coming up. The case fatality rate in countries and regions outside China is 1.5%. They don't have the kits to test everybody that dies or is sick. Australia coronavirus, because they don't even know they still can't come up with a solution for it. Therefore, they don't know what it is 100%. Just its genre, that's all they can give you. Australia coronavirus patients can be detained under biosecurity law. Hard to imagine Australia got a biosecurity law. It really is. So Wuhan closes makeshift hospitals. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear that headline? Well, you don't have to read it. You just see that headline, you're perusing the site. Say, oh, look, they closed one of those hospitals. And how many did they build? Dana, 2? No. They built 16. 16. And what did we say originally? The hospitals become a petri dish in no time at all, because you have late stage illnesses, highly infectious respiratory and kidney failure going on there. The disease is permeated on all surfaces. You can't disinfect a building full of incredibly sick people like they're on the streets, right? Because they're very vulnerable people. So they had to get out of one of the buildings is what you're basically looking at. But this raises another question. There's 15 buildings, hospitals that they built temporarily, and we know now the average was 1,000 to 1,500 beds. They're going to lie about it, but the average was 1,000 to 1,500 beds per hospital. So, but we also know for critical condition, which is what that hospital was dealing with, and there is no cure for this, was a 61% fatality rate in a recent study from Lancet Journal. And so if you say 20,000 patients, that's 12,000 dead. They lock down the country. They have the Great Firewall, internet firewall. They've gotten rid of the VPN, virtual private networks. Right? They tightened down that ship. They beat up everybody that's on the streets trying to get documentation or even go to a shop. And the list goes on and on. So it's a very censored, a very totalitarian, a very bigoted type country. And your people in charge is one party. There's no opposition allowed, no dissenting opinions allowed, right? Wuhan closes one hospital, but what about all the other hospitals? Now there's 400 hospitals just in Wuhan itself. Not in Hubei, the province, but just in Wuhan. There's also 6,000 clinics. But we covered all this. We covered the headlines every day since the 25th, right, of January. And we repeat a lot of the headlines for educational purposes. So you got to, because they're supposed to be in the equation. Chinese city at the center of the coronavirus epidemic closed its first makeshift hospital, one of 16 that they didn't bother. Now, when they were building the hospitals, they were showing you drone footage only, right? You couldn't see the bars on the window till they originally opened it up, and there was just very faint footage that showed up. But I was the first one to notice that and publicly come out and denounce it as something else going on there. You don't put prison bars on your hospital windows, right? And they say, discharge the last recovered patient. Now, if they were getting large volumes of recovered patients from these institutions, they would have been there with every media on the planet would have been invited in. It wouldn't be silent all the way up until now. They got out of there because it's a big petri dish. And we have a lot of evidence to show that their incinerators have been burning. There's over 50 of them just in Wuhan, 24/7, and they've been overwhelmed with dead bodies. The country remained on alert as the Chinese nationals returning home are testing positive for the virus. Country remained on alert, even though the numbers they're claiming is going down, but they're still got 760 million locked down. They haven't let them free. Oh, but there is nationals coming back that got the positive for the virus. In other words, they were out there in the world coughing on everybody. Am I right? Hubei with 196 new confirmed cases. But see, the equation of 16 hospitals, those numbers have never been entered in any of the equations, were they? Like, when did we hear, 20,000 critical patients? Critical means they're on life support. And these alleged hospitals have prison walls, prison cell configurations, bars on the windows, locks on the outside, and the list goes on, and ran by the military. So it's If they had to come up with a cure, they would have been out there screeching it to the four winds. This is the first we hear of it. And so what about that as the equation? I think China is sealing its own fate by doing what it's doing, because they still got 760 million people locked down. The entire province of Hubei also is still locked down 5 weeks later with over 60 million people. And so if you believe this nonsense, because that's what we do here, is we critically analyze everything as of February 28th. And so they downplay the numbers because we know the small hospitals had 1,100 beds. So if you be honest, then you end up with numbers like I'm talking about. South Korea reports 476 coronavirus cases yesterday. It raised the number up to 4,200. That's catastrophic. So it's gone to the four winds. And their reaction originally after 60 cases, it wasn't even that many, I think it was 40, they locked down 2.5 million people. And so we see so many of these disproportionate, but yet it's not, nobody seems to be saying, well, that's strange. Only us. Nobody come out and said, holy shit, South Korea just locked down 2.5 million people. There was no, the media, all the media goes is regurgitates whatever is told by public relation firms, and there's no, you can't trust, if you trust media, you definitely don't know much about the real world. No offense, but iPhone camera modular supplier forced to shut down a factory due to coronavirus case. So they think there's a case there, and forced to shut down one of his factory due to a worker contracting the virus. So this is the strangest sentence on the planet, right there. It's a weaponized virus, is what it is, right? Anybody says that, of course, the media freaks out, and we show many examples of that already. Both Samsung and LG have been forced to shut down factories in South Korea that weekend. Boris Johnson, really? The Queen appoints him, right? So, government says it's inevitable that coronavirus will be an epidemic in the UK. They call it endemic. I don't even know how to spell epidemic. Well, it's endemic right over there, I guess. Tory MP recommends singing the first verse. Now that's this guy here. I guess that's the only job he could actually get, right? Tory MP recommends singing first verse of the national anthem while your kids are washing their hands. Like, that's evil to brainwash the kids by suggesting the kids should sing God Save the Princess Pig Queen, la, 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 every friggin' time they wash their hands. That's not nationalism. That's not patriotism. That's fucking weird, okay? Excuse the language. That's as weird as it gets. The idea of him being a politician is truly as scary. One of the scariest things. Sharp TV is going to make surgical mask. These are bizarre headlines. Rough ride. Olympic Games could go ahead behind closed doors with no fans in Tokyo. They still got 8,000 athletes. It just takes one of them with the flu. Then what are you going to do? Quarantine the entire Olympic participants? There ain't going to be no Olympics. So they're just looting the money they can now before they admit it. And you'll find out what I'm saying is true, because we studied Japan dramatically here at this site. Carol McGiffin and Denise Welch blessed the idea of a curfew. I must have skipped the headline. Oh, that's the headline. Bless the idea of a curfew in UK for people over 60 because of they don't want them to get the coronavirus. So if you're over 60, they're going to have a curfew. Welcome to the new world. Chinese propagandists don't want you to read the diary and the coronavirus lockdown in Wuhan. Now, she had over 3 million followers. They took down her site when that first doctor died. We are all shut inside our homes, she says in her diary. As long as we have not been infected, we are okay. But for the patients, which is 760 million of them right now, but for the patients who are seeking hospital treatments, it's very tough. And she said she watched footage of medical staff and patients having a meltdown. I had never experienced such sadness and helplessness in my life, she says. That's her here. Some of those infected but can't get into a hospital or at the end of their teeth. Or someone jumped from a bridge last night, committed suicide. A community worker told us a whole family had been infected but can't get into the hospital. Even though they built 16 more and they have 400 in just Wuhan. One has died. In desperation, the rest wants to end their lives. Totally heart-wrenching and painful to see Wuhan like this. She's been there all her life. How many people have died in Wuhan and had their families destroyed? But so far, not a single person has said sorry or taken responsibility. Well, I'm going to say I'm sorry this has happened to you. I'm sure you'll never hear it because you have the Great China Firewall. I have even seen a writer using the phrase complete victory. What are they talking about? Wuhan is in such a bad state, but people's lives hanging by a thread. Where is the victory? You will likely be asked to write celebratory essays and poems. Please pause before you write. Who do you want to praise? If you want to curry favors, watch how you go. I might be getting old, but I'll never give up voicing my opinion. So strong stances often get Fang in trouble. Her Weibo account with more than 3.8 million followers, almost 4 million followers, was banned on the same night Dr. Li Wenling died after being infected by the coronavirus. 3.8 million followers. You work so hard to do something like that, and then this hateful thing you call a government does that to you. By the time Wuhan was placed under lockdown, 5 million people had left the city for the Chinese New Year, many carrying the virus with them. Which they alluded to earlier, right? Where they talk about the Chinese coming back that were infected. Only the official narrative is permitted, and people who raise questions are hushed and punished. Right here, I got 6 gag orders against me, used to destroy my life. On the 1st of March, new regulations governing the internet content took effect in China, which will only mean tighter control over content deemed harmful to the thugs and a tougher fight for Fang and others who want to have a voice. Indeed. Iran has arrested the shrine licker. What an idiot. There was more than one too, right? Licking the shrine, saying they're not, because people go there and wipe their hands all over the shrine. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. People go there and it's just God is great, right? People go there and do that. And then other people that are idiots will get there and lick it to prove that they're not worried about the coronavirus. They weren't supposed to do the gathering because they're worried about the coronavirus decimating their country. They don't care about their country. A certain percentage of them, and then they could destroy everybody. Iran arrests a shrine licker who defied coronavirus measures. I heard they are spraying it with disinfectant. So the next guy who licks is going to get sick as a duck. Just 8 of the 1,600 doctors in UK. There's a lot of news from UK today, I notice. Just 8 of the 1,600 doctors in the poll said the UK was capable of dealing with an outbreak, but they're not. If you have a real outbreak there, it'll swarm and overwhelm the dysfunctional medical system that they actually have in that country. So only 8 of the 1,600 doctors said they were ready. Like, anything that's a bad poll, that's definitely a bad poll. Then you got Boris Johnson's in charge. So people going to the theater, the cinema, temperature screening is only going to get 2% to late stage. It's ludicrous to suggest that that's somehow effective. It really is. And anybody who's being honest knows that's true, right? And don't let that be. So a new study now showing 1 in 33 infections are found. It was 1 in 19, now it's even worse, 1 in 33. There's a distinct possibility thousands of coronavirus infections go unnoticed or unreported. This is definitely turning into a real event, and we can pretend that it's not. We can hope that it's not, which is what I'm doing every day. And I'm gathering up all this information to try to debunk this, and all we do is we do prove this story over and over, but we also show that the world's reaction, it's, to me, it's disproportionate as possible, but it's a steamroller. It's worldwide. Everybody, every country and community and corporation, everything else is acting extraordinary. The second, even if somebody down the road has it, they'll close down their corporation. We're not getting the whole story. Like China hiding what's going on, we're not getting the whole story here either. But we can extrapolate a lot from a little, right? 2 and 2 makes 22, not always 4, see? The data collected around the epidemic start has been unreliable at best. The experts in computational biology used a statistical model to study the spread of the virus in Wuhan City starting in November 2019. Using statistical methods, we can calculate how many people were infected at any point in time in the past, because you have reliable models now where they're able to be pretty accurate. And based on her analyst, a professor, Stadler, said the virus likely infected between 4,000 and 19,000 people on January 23rd, when Wuhan was quarantined from the rest of China. And then it was the whole province of Hubei, and then it was 760 million. And we believe the numbers are much higher now. And they still are quarantined, right? They haven't released the quarantine. At the time, however, the official count of the confirmed infection only stood at 581. Right? We've covered studies like that talk about that model from the UK. Back the first week, we started down, like a lot of people, the first week, you couldn't avoid it. And I was like, maybe I'll spend a few days and look at it. 5 weeks later, we're still at it. Why does NHS England only specify the county and not the town itself? Well, if you say the town, everybody's going to bail. Italian coronavirus death rises to 52, and the number of cases now is over 2,000. Because you got everybody locked down, right? It's crazy. So less than a week, they're gone to 2,000 infected. And so they locked down, they had a couple of cases, just a couple, 3 or 4 cases. They locked down 12 communities, see? In Italy, right? International Journalism Festival canceled over the coronavirus outbreak in Italy. That's outrageous. They should have to go anyway. They're just journalists. Who cares? It's not like there's actually no such thing as a journalist, the definition of a journalist, but there's people who get degrees and get a job and then they puke up whatever public relation firms ask them to. Well, they don't write the article, they just put their name on it. It's a long story. It sounds kooky, I'm sure, if you're not familiar, but there is no such thing as a journalist anymore. I know that sounds strange, but I can prove it. An annual international journalism festival due to be held in Italy, you can laugh at what's coming next, has been cancelled to respond to the coronavirus outbreak. Organizers are 11 towns in Italy in lockdown. There's actually 12. So the festival is sponsored by Facebook and Google. And some of their prize is BuzzFeed. They're calling people from BuzzFeed journalists at Facebook and Google. If you try wrapping your mind around that, your head will explode. Hang on. Okay, Elaine. Okay, yeah, we'll let you go. Okay, yeah, bye-bye. Thank you. That was Elaine. She said she was watching. Hi to everybody. And she said she was watching Yoshi Shimatsu. He was talking about an ozone generator helped him. He thought he had the coronavirus. I'm not sure. But that's important anyway. You look into that. I'll have to look into it myself. I should put a few smiles out there on a few people anyway. But she didn't see anybody in the comments section mention that over the last while. And Strontium believes you're sick, do you, buddy? I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't see it. I wasn't reading the comments section there tonight. Speakers at the festival, sponsored by Facebook and Google. And BuzzFeed is what they call the journals. We already lost the planet. Scotland now expecting 80% of the population could be infected because of this. In other words, what they're admitting is they're completely incapable of dealing with it, or they're incompetent and they know everybody's going to get sick. Well, 80% of the population means it's not going to be all just older people, yeah? And we see lots of examples of younger people. We've seen body bag with 3 children in it in China as legit footage. Nicola Sturgeon has said the Scottish government is preparing for a significant outbreak of the coronavirus in Scotland after the first case was diagnosed. So they got one case, they're expecting 80% of the population to get sick. So we're missing something in this equation. I haven't been able to find it, but we've been able to assert and prove, rather, that they're lying about many facets to this story. But every time you see, like, to get a case, well, that's it for Scotland. There goes 80% of you. It's been nice to know you. When you see stuff like that, you really got to shake your head, see? And then you see the other media out there, stop worrying about that, worry about the flu. Oh, by the way, Google wants 8,000 of their staffs to work from home because a member had flu-like symptoms. Well, it could have been the flu, you know. He was pretty red in the face. I heard him sniff. It was terrifying. I was horrified. I got to see a psychiatrist. It was horrible. After a member had flu-like symptoms, whoever reacted and said 80% of all 8,000 got to go home because somebody had flu-like symptoms, I should check them into a psychiatric ward and just leave them there. Like when you tell 8,000, oh my God, it was horrible. He looked like he had the flu. Go, please. I don't want to go back there. It is believed to be unlikely that the worker has the virus on top of that. Try making that up in your spare time. Google. Anyway. 6 deaths, 18 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the United States of America. I'm sorry, in Washington. 18 confirmed cases. And goodbye, America. I'm gonna miss you. Dirty banknotes may be spreading the coronavirus. World Health Organization lapdogs warn. They haven't done anything but just get out there and regurgitate something we already heard 2 weeks ago over and over and over. But that's a scary thought. Oh, and they also said banknotes may be spreading the coronavirus, so people should try to use contactless payments. Cashless society. I'll never hear the end of that now in the comments section. I know it. I can see him in the comment section now. I fucking know it. It's going to be a cashless society. Anything. And they're right. Whoever thought that, I'm sure we already talked about it, but customers should wash their hands after touching banknotes because infectious coronavirus 19 may cling to the surface for a number of days. Wow. Because we got all the media quoting them that it only lasts for 3 hours, right? We covered that over the last couple of weeks. Excuse me. This is nutty though, right? Last night, the Bank of England acknowledged the banknotes can carry bacteria. We had that study like 3 weeks ago. I think tomorrow night I should do a recap of the last 4 weeks. Did I just say that out loud? Have you got any idea how much work it is to go through 24 shows? Well, equipment I got everything, all my ducks are still in order. It's like 8,000 we covered or something. I commented on every one of them. I got to get a voice to stick my head in so it doesn't crack open on me when I get these. When I realize I look at some of the stuff I done. I'm like, oh my God, how the hell did I even pull that off? It took days to get together. Richard Branson, Virgin Voyages. This is four brand new cruise ships. You can see they're mega ships, right? So 4 of those ships, it's $4 billion probably, but they're actually big petri dishes. So it's a shitty time on the planet. And by the way, there's not even a maiden voyage, and they're going to skip New York because they heard there's a couple of cases there. Every step of this is Twilight Zone as it gets. The Scarlet Lady was delivered in early February. It's the first of 4 ships on order from Virgin. And the company said it has absolutely no health concerns or issues. Of course, that's what the company said. I just hope that Branson is not stupid enough to think that this is not going to happen to one of his ships. Coronavirus, mother and son at Sarasota Military Academy under quarantine. They can't go out and rape people anymore for a while. That's just terrible, isn't it? Can't drop bombs on people with forks and knives. So let me explain what I'm saying to you. You went to Iraq and Afghanistan, right? Millions dead, millions missing, and millions in refugee camps, millions unaccounted for. 5 million orphans, and you leveled every building with depleted uranium munitions in Afghanistan. Then you went over to Iraq and done the same thing. Millions dead, millions missing, and all of this to get 10,000 Taliban. I couldn't possibly do something like that. And then you had 29,000 rapes a year in the military. You really think if they're raping, and they are, if they're raping their own that much, that they're not going to be doing that when they get into a country with no checks and balances? You don't join the military, it's a cult, right? That's what military is a cult. They go after the most vulnerable. They can't vote, they can't smoke cigarettes legally, and drink legally, can't vote or anything, but they can go pick up a big weapon and destroy a village. Because there could have been a Taliban, and he's like the virus. I think there was a Taliban there a couple of years ago, we better blow it up. CNN, the limit employees travel due to coronavirus outbreak. There's no future being monsters, is all I'm trying to say. For 10,000 Taliban, then they went over to Libya and stuck a stick up Gaddafi's, you know what, and they wrecked that country because there was a couple of hundred Taliban somewhere in that part of the world. Then they went over to Syria and created 7 million refugees, and they shipped them worldwide because there was a couple of hundred Taliban left over who was turned in now to ISIL. And then some of the other Taliban went down to Africa and became Boko Haram, where they got millions dead, millions missing, millions in refugee camps, millions unaccounted for, millions of orphans to get a couple of hundred Taliban in that country. And people don't think they've been hoodwinked and somehow think that the military got some redeeming attributes, are so delusional. Well, like everything I do, I document it myself, so when I say it, I can assert it because I can prove it, my assertions. They're not regurgitated opinions, they're assertions that take me a long time to verify. I can't help you by making shit up. I can help you by giving you statistics to use to bludgeon the opposition with, though. That is what I do. CNN to limit employees' travel. I don't think they should. I think CNN should go down to Wuhan and hang out till they fucking die. Excuse the language. Total anarchy. Costco shoppers. Blah, 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 blah. They like salacious headlines. That's why I was hesitating. But Costco is getting limbed out. And I mean limbed out. Like limbed out. So do you see total carnage and panic everywhere? Twin City stores see run on supplies because of coronavirus. Yoink. Twin Cities. It's toilet paper, hand sanitizer, cold medicine, blah, 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 blah. Empty store shelves could be found around Metro. Not just one shop. They're going to limit the whole community. We've seen that in Greek and other countries we covered yesterday too, right? And then we've seen that in the last week or so, just repeatedly. So Twin Cities, many other parts of the U.S. also. Iran crisis, coronavirus death tolls could be as high as 650. And we've been beating Iran up for decades, so it's hard to, they'll make this up too, but you can't disregard it because Iran doesn't have, it's not quite the technological, and this is what you would expect out of a country already barbarized. I just hope it's not true. Twitter, Amazon, Nike, and more take emergency coronavirus precautions. And Amazon got 890,000 employees, for instance. Travel bans, remote working policies have been introduced in recent days. Offices have been closed and companies to try and protect employees from coronavirus. These are extraordinary, and I didn't seem to capture it here today, but I probably skipped past it accidentally. There was somebody on a street of this business, and all the big companies shut down and are getting their buildings disinfected because they know somebody on the street that they're on had allegedly been identified as having coronavirus. So if you call this a weaponized biological weapon, then everything I said here tonight and every other night makes perfect sense. But if you don't look at it as a biological weapon, then none of it makes sense, right? See, that's the reality. It was out of abundance of caution because a coronavirus case had been recorded in a city near Nike's Beaverton, Oregon headquarters, in a city nearby. Not the same street, but in a city nearby. So they got to shut it all down and sterilize it. I'm not laughing, I'm just trying not to scream. But I mean, my goodness. Now, it could be worse. Dana, he could be your neighbor. Point taken. I agree. Definitely. That's just scary. That's just scary no matter how you look at it. So I had to put two pretty girls there to try to soften that fucking thing there up a little bit. Anyway, you know where I'm to, and you know what I'm doing. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do from here on out. Made it this far, and give us a thumbs up. And gives a share out there. There's lots and lots and lots of platforms to share this on. Not just YouTube, well, YouTube's fine. But there's just an absurd amount of platforms. And if you don't do it, then I can't do it. I'm worn out because I work nonstop doing what I'm doing. Don't cost nothing and goes a long way, right? And we'll see everybody the next time. God bless everybody. Thanks for everybody. I hope you have a wonderful night and a wonderful day tomorrow. We'll don't know when the next show is going to be, but when the folder is full, I'll be there to share it with you. No matter the cost, somebody has to do it, right? God bless. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody soon.